All right.
Hello.
We're back.
We're back with parking lot movie reviews. We saw
The Backrooms.
The Backrooms.
Backrooms?
Backrooms.
The Backrooms? We saw Backrooms.
Yes.
And it's memory, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could play a key role here.
Packed theater, which is nice.
Great to see.
Love to see that.
Great
love
to see
to
it.
see people at the movie theater. What a ride.
Yeah. Didn't really know what we were getting into. I'd always heard of the lore, seen some video, seen even some of the fan-made game, gameplay.
Lots of talk around it, around the YouTube series, around the concept of the Backrooms.
Yeah.
So we had a general idea about what to expect, and I feel like this movie absolutely delivered in that respect.
Yeah. Very exciting, very unnerving.
Yes.
A fun watch. I mean, even
uncomfortable at times.
Yeah. Even again, it's like people who are just like laymen to the universe. Like you can watch it. You're totally fine.
You don't have to follow the lore step by step. It's great too. To learn about it. But this is definitely a film anybody can watch and still get the same feelings that you would get watching the YouTube series as well, just more expansive. This is a movie, so it has a plot, it has different characters that you're following along, and I think this film did a really good job with that. So something that we've talked about before is just adapting like a game or adapting something to the big screen sometimes is difficult, right? Because you're trying to bring it life. And I feel like Backrooms did a great job with giving it feeling, giving it a good plot.
We're making it watchable for the theater. Outside of it being like a YouTube series in which you can kind of freestyle that a little more, because there's if it's a series, you have the time to unpack stuff. Whereas with this, like you said, having a plot, having characters to follow, again, being a layman to the world, you can walk in and have a good time with it. Yeah. The overall visuals of it, I love the crossover between practical effects and seemingly the use of Blender. I believe Kane Parsons had mentioned about utilizing some of the same tools that he would use for the YouTube series in order to maintain the authenticity of it.
That is where I felt like this film really shined, was the sets. The sets were incredibly immersive, incredibly immersive. It felt like you were there in the movie theater, the liminal spaces, the way it looked, the era that it was trying to convey. It was so good. Yeah. And then also with the whole practicality of it, minimal effects, used, minimal CGI, that kind of thing. I don't know if any CGI was used. But it was really, really fun. It was really, really fun. You were immersed the entire time. You felt stuck. That works. I'm thinking too of what I got from it. Not that everything needs to give you something, but there's some things that are kind of blatant in the sense that you infer feelings, infer thoughts. And something I was talking to you about in the theater when we were there, kind of credits start to roll, I'm just thinking out loud that this is more of the new medium of how an artist conveys their vision. For the longest time it was more visualized as painting or music, or sometimes you had these legacy directors or writers that you're just they're the artists, and it's this is a great not only stepping stone for young artists that are utilizing a platform like YouTube to reach this level, but inspiring to artists everywhere to understand that you can still create. And
don't
you can
feel
create
discouraged
based on feelings too. I really felt like this film did a really good job again of portraying that, being in life and feeling like you're stuck. Yeah. Feeling like you don't know how to get out of this rut. So you keep on doing the same things over and over again. And of course, you're not seeing different results, you know? So it really played up on that concept of feeling it, whether it's depression or just feeling, not happy where you are in your life.
and kind of figuring out where to go from here. And I felt like the Backrooms is such a beautiful like visualization of that. And it did a good job in that respect.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It also reminded me of playing a game of telephone, and then how eventually a story or a narrative eventually gets kind of like re-amalgamated into something brand new. You know, like you'd see like the visualization of something, and it's kind of like every time you'd see it, a little bit changed until the point it was kind of like completely different, and like not even the narrative that was like specific to where it started.
Yeah, and that we see that in our daily lives in so many different ways, whether it be interpersonal or with the news or, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's definitely a concept also, like a real world concept that they were trying to convey with the Backrooms. But other than that, like the horror of it, there's jump scares for all you jump scare like horror heads. There's beautiful like makeup and special effects in that way.
Yeah, the practical effects seemingly like they're spectacular.
Yes. So I feel like it hits all the hallmarks of like a good horror film.
Yeah, short of it being like, oh, this crazy slasher. You know, you get a little bit of that, you know, but for the most part, it's like it's psychological horror.
It is, yeah,
you know?
I didn't expect that.
Not your traditional psychological horror either.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. I will say is how I felt coming in was kind of more of just like, oh, it's going to be very visual, which it was, you know, and that kind of like the feeling that you get from the liminal spaces, I was fully expecting that, but I didn't really expect this full fleshed out plot and kind of metaphors that it was doing. So that was kind of a plus for me. That I was like, ooh, I like that. You know, I like that they went there and it wasn't just on the surface.
Yeah.
But if you are watching it surface level, it's still a freaking good time.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of everyone that's coming into it, I think what happens when a movie like pops and it's got like a good like opening weekend, it's just like it's a lot of like the people who are enthusiastic about it and also the people that are generally interested and want to understand the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And this movie like speaks to that extremely well. I think that that's great that like everyone's able to approach it like that.
And I think it's gonna bring people to the YouTube series as well.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And that like this metaphor, as you mentioned earlier, like there are multiple metaphors to be like inferred from it for sure. And I think it's a great way to also understand how people are conveying their feelings as well. I find myself looking at this from the lens of like somebody who kind of like semi grew up with YouTube stuff, but not the way that like the last generation, like Kane Parsons generation, has like followed like their own lore that they've built. And it's just like, this is another method of communication. The same way that like with us was music and with writing. It's like
the theater, like dance. Like there's so many different artistic ways to show feeling
and convey your emotions.
Exactly.
And what you're thinking without it being like so direct.
Yes, and that is an art to be able to do that balance. And it did that great. The acting was really good.
Yeah.
The two main characters really portrayed that that stuck feeling very well. You know, like with their lives, even the little that we get of their lives was interesting.
Yeah.
But I feel like this movie does its best when it is in the Backrooms. And especially when we get some of the vintage VHS look, I really loved that. The found footage, that was very fun. I was like, oh, nice homage, you know?
Yeah. It's I saw something recently, and this is going to timestamp this. Not only us watching the Backrooms, but recently there was a horror was #1 in the box office the last time that the Spurs and the Knicks were facing off, and that was I think 2006. And now we're at 2026. And so we've hit that point in the loop.
Spurs go.
We've hit that point in the loop where horror's #1 in the box office. And the Spurs and the Knicks are up against each other. Go Spurs, go.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a funny little
fun
little fact.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah. One of those things that like as the movie even mentions and we mention, and I think countless people will understand, is like there are things that are cyclical. there are patterns in which you can kind of like understand that either you develop yourself, or that are developed around you in order that we exist in. Like it's a thinker. It's really a great thinker.
It really is. It was a lot deeper than I expected it, and I love that. As far as pacing, real quick, I think it does its best in the second half. I think of course, as a lot of films, they kind of like open up and they really push it and they really go there. I loved that it did this in the second half. I think in the beginning it does feel like a little slow, and you're trying to figure it out, as in like, are they gonna really push this? Like how is this gonna go? Or is it gonna be very just visual film? Like, so I do love that they combine the two of it being like visual and then like, let's just take it up a notch in horror and in plot and just give it to them. And I really liked that in the second half.
I want to say the notches got skipped for like you kind of like go through different perspectives, right? And they skipped in a good way, where it's just like, like how you said, the second half just like kicks it up. It really does. Like, because you kind of go from one character to another character, and then when you get to the second character, it's kind of like X amount has happened in that time, and you're just like, wow. Like, here we are now. Like, whoa. So.
But let's get our Glizzy rating.
That sounds good to me.
All right, we're going to do 1 through 5. 5 being fucking the best, masterpiece. And 1 being never going to see again.
That's right.
So, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, on 3.
1, 2, 3, 4. 3.75.
Yeah.
I'll go up to a 4. I honestly wanted to say 4, but I don't know why I said 3.75.
I mean, I was stuck between 3.5 and 4 for a long time. And I just went 4, but honestly, 4. It's in that range.
It is in that range. High 3s, solid 4. And that's from layman's to the series.
Yes.
All
right. See you next time. Bye.